This is Mari Live. Every week we discuss a new SEO, Google, AI, content marketing, link building news, update, tactic, trend, tools. I'm Ann Smarty. I'm the co-founder of Smarty Marketing. We are an agency, SEO agency based in New York. And with me today and always, April, our director of social. Thank you so much for co-hosting, April.
Happy to be here.
I do send newsletters every Tuesday on LinkedIn, and my newsletter also lives on my personal domain name, which is nsmarty.com. Very easy to find. Please subscribe. My newsletters have all the screenshots, references, tools. Today we are going to discuss an interesting topic that is how Google is slowly but surely becoming an answer engine instead of search engine. In the description, I link to the newsletter episode that I did because it does list quite a few useful tools that can help you with what we're discussing today. So check it out for sure. Share, subscribe. Again, always helpful, and we are doing our best to bring you something new every week. Now, the answer engine. And I've been on many podcasts this year, and it's always a very frequent question that people ask me is, what are you going to do when Google becomes an answer engine? Because it is becoming an answer engine. And my answer is always, it's nothing new. We've been seeing Google try to become an answer engine for at least 5 years, but I'm sure more. Ever since they introduced quick answers, then featured snippets, then people also ask, then all the other sections that try to answer queries beyond what was typed in the search box. For many years, we've been seeing Google try to do their best to answer queries, and not just the queries, but the follow-up questions, the related questions. Suggest people search more for something related. That means we get much fewer clicks from Google because people are interacting with search results much more. But I guess they've been seeing the need for that for many years. There is a reason why Google is such a huge company. There are a lot of smart people there, and they've been seeing that people do want that. The majority of people searching Google do need a quick answer. Of course, with generative AI, the trend is being much more obvious. Google is trying to go with the flow and introduce AI features that would give quickest answers and very satisfying and detailed answers to some of the search queries. So that's why people started talking about just now. But ever since voice search, I think, was one of the bigger trends in the past, when people started speaking to their mobile phones or AI assistants at home, and asking them questions that would trigger Google search usually, and the quick answer would be read to them or shown on their screens. So ever since then, we know that people are using all kinds of question format queries when searching Google. And ever since then, we've been paying a lot of attention to question research, to all kinds of queries that look like questions, and trying to optimize or give those answers in our content strategies, in our content pieces that we produce for ourselves and for the clients as well. If you are not researching your niche questions at this point, you should have done that yesterday. But if you haven't, then let this be your reminder that you need to start doing that. Question research is very useful on so many levels. You do understand your audience much better, than you can relate to those questions much better than just queries. They are much more inspirational in terms of new content pieces that can be produced for a particular topic. You can figure out what people are likely to ask next after some search queries, so that you can accommodate that need and maybe create follow-up articles or address those questions in the same article, depending on how relevant they are. So it's a very useful exercise when in terms of keyword research, optimization of your content, updates for your content. For example, if something was written 10 years ago, you can now update that article with all the relevant questions and answer them and expand that and make it much more useful and republish it to a new date. So anytime I create an editorial calendar for our clients, question research is always part of that process. I always add a special column in our editorial calendar with related questions that should be answered within that article. And it's always useful both for people and for you as a marketer to understand your audience much better. In my newsletter, I listed 5 or 6 tools that can be useful in understanding what people are likely to ask when searching for something. Those are tools that use different databases, different data to pull those questions from different sources. SEMrush, Answer the Public, those are tools that use keyword databases, and they just search for question modifiers like what, where, does, questions from the searchable keywords. This is a great idea to use those tools. They have separate filters, so you can filter down to different types of questions. The only thing to remember here is that those are highly searchable questions. Enough people type in the search box for those keywords to be in the keyword research databases from SEMrush or any other that they are using. So those are very searchable, sometimes competitive queries. In most cases, if there is any search volume behind the question, it deserves a separate article because that's what enough people search for those questions to be so popular. So keep that in mind when any tool is using keyword databases, search query databases to find questions. Those are very popular questions. If Google, and I should remind you that Google only knows 30% of queries that people type. Of those 30%, I would say 10% is something that other third-party solutions, those that do not have Google's database, are aware of. So we have only like 10% data of everything that's being searched in Google. So it's very little. So don't stop just on keyword research. There are other tools that help you. BuzzSumo is a great tool that pulls questions from discussion boards, Quora, Reddit. So for any keyword that you type, they will not only find questions that are being discussed on those forums and discussion boards, but they also use semantic analysis to pull very relevant keywords that align with your topic, and they will also pull those discussions from all those sources for those new concepts, keywords as well. So it's a huge database of questions that people actually discuss in forums. Those are user-generated content, so you can see what people are not just typing in the search box, but actually discuss over at forums. There are also tools that pull, people also ask results from those boxes. One of them is called Also Asked, I think, but don't quote me on that. Check my newsletter with the exact name of that tool. Also a great way to understand what people are likely to search further, because Google does invite them to click those questions, find answers, and search more for those questions as well. So there is a good reason to assume that people would be wondering about those questions, even if they were not wondering about them when searching. Google would recommend them searching and researching those answers as well. So pull those out and get a better understanding of the searching journey that would follow after the initial search for your search query. So all those tools are great. I would suggest using all of them because, again, they're using different databases. Also talk to your clients, and the more you interact, or your customer support or social media manager is interacting with actual clients and your audience, whenever they find questions that people ask about your competitor, your product, competitor's product, maybe your topic, the problem that you're trying to solve with your service or product, put those down as well. Remember that we know only 10% of search database of searching behaviors, searching keywords that people are using. Google does tell us that so many keywords that are being typed are new. They have never been reported previously because there are so many people and they all have different ways of asking questions or searching Google. So we know just a little bit of that. Don't stop on keyword research. Try to understand what your customers are also saying online or over the phone or send you via emails. Maybe you can do surveys of your audience on a regular basis to better understand what's troubling them, what questions they're trying to solve. And that is your content strategy as well. So make sure to add that component to your content strategy or SEO strategy, because whenever you are only relying on publicly available data, you're limiting yourself. You are just as good as your competitors because they have the same access to the same tools, to the same keyword research. And if you want to stand out, you need to be using your own data. And that is usually talking to your clients, understanding them better, and knowing what they are asking.
What are your predictions for like how AI will change how people search over time?
I do feel it's being already changed for everyone who is using generative AI like ChatGPT or Gemini. We know that they are very encouraging you to ask question, not just type a search query, but ask a question or provide a prompt. So what it is doing to the searching habit, it is changing it when it's not just a quick keyword, what to do or how to get somewhere. There is the whole question that is usually detailed so that you could get a detailed answer. Google is not good yet at answering those questions. I mean, Google search, because when you type a huge query, Google is trying to generalize it very much and try to provide very generic results back. So it is going to be a long process, both for us as search marketers and SEOs, and for Google as the platform to try and align and adjust to those slowly changing searching behaviors. But it's not going to be very quick. We know that people's habits are changing very slowly. It can take 10 years for the new generation to be old enough to search and buy something online. So it could take that all younger generation to really grow up and teach us what they are doing with search. So it is not going to be quick, but I do feel that what is conversational search, it has been around for quite a while, ever since voice search became popular. But it's going to be even a growing trend with generative AI as people learn to converse, to actually have a conversation with a search box instead of just typing query after query. It will be much harder for us to measure those trends. Like I said, even now, SEO industry as a whole has about 10% of what people know, about 10% of what people are typing in the search box. With those longer prompts, queries, it's going to be even worse. We'll have much less data for that. But again, we have our audience, we have our customers. We can ask them how they're interacting with generative AI platforms and go from there.
It makes me wonder if like people will become like more curious when they're on the internet because it's easier for them to find the answers to what they like, just the random questions that pop into their head. It's much easier to just be able to type that question into AI and get like
I,
possible answers.
I, I remember a very fun meme about that when there is like Remember when we thought that stupidity is lack or access, no access to information? No, it's it's not. I would say because everyone has access to all kinds of information these days, but the critical thinking is not really growing. Everyone is still
Yeah.
remaining in their bubble and believe whatever they were taught to believe by their parents or their bubble companions. So
Mhm.
I think that I'm afraid that this access to quick answers
Mhm.
will have the opposite impact. So people will not be as used to digging deeper. Remember
Right.
when Google was just 10 blue links and you had to click each of them, and I would open 5 or 6 of them in different tabs and then would go and dig deep into everything that every page was saying. Now you get a feature snippet or an AI overview, and
Mhm.
even I sometimes just read that and leave because in many cases all I need is a quick answer. So digging deeper and learning more may be a trend of the past with
Yeah,
all
that makes
quick
sense.
answers.
It's
That
pretty
is
scary.
unfortunate. Yeah. So the new generation, remember how we used to go to libraries to dig some
Mhm.
information about our like paper or like research paper, something like that. Now people just Google. So it is
Mhm.
also much easier to find quick facts, information, studies. No one even cares about finding the original of any study. They would just
Mm.
reference whatever they find on Google, ranking number one. So it is an unfortunate trend, I think, that we have an access to all those quick answers these days, and there is no work behind finding answers at
Right.
all.
Definitely.
But yeah, so we have a question: will internal links become even more important? Yes, they are equally important these days, but if we create, it depends on how you approach the question answering strategy. Sometimes we would answer questions on the same page. Sometimes we would create more content to address all those questions, especially if there is enough information for the whole article addressing them. So the more content you create, the more important internal linking becomes for sure. A generative AI, just like Google, they are all crawling links, internal links, including internal links. So we do need to make sure that all the content that we produce have internal and preferably external links so that they are discoverable by all those bots and indexable by them. So yes, internal linking is going to become important, even more important. It is already now almost key to rankings because any audit that I do, there is usually a huge room of improvement for improvement of internal links. And it always boosts rankings because it's just easier for Google to find those articles and assign some value to them. The more internal links, the better. But if you are going to create more content, yes, internal linking is going to be even more important than ever.
I have a question from Todd, but I just wanted to bring up this example from Jackie. When I read it, it's so sad. It's shocking.
So I have a great example of this going horribly wrong. My grandfather is deceased author, and now they show a younger man as the writer of his book. Unfortunately, yes, and there is no easy fix for that, especially with the knowledge base that Google is very static. They do not update it too often. It's very fundamental to Google search. So by any time someone is misrepresented through the knowledge graph, it's next to impossible to get it fixed. My recommendation to you, Jackie, would be to try and create, if there is none one yet, the Wikipedia page for that for your father, and promote it a little bit. So maybe send some external links to it so that it ranks better. Google still listens to Wikipedia, and that could help at least to add your data to that knowledge graph so that there are two panels. Sometimes that happens when the names are the same. It could take some time, but it's a good way to try and solve that issue with Google misrepresenting names and entities through their knowledge graph. So, question: how many people actually will use AI to do a search? Most will just Google, even though they will use AI. Not sure we are at the point where people will fire up ChatGPT Copilot maybe soon. This is a tough one. I do want to believe that enough people will want to find more information beyond quick answers. But who am I? I'm not the new generation. We know that the new generation, like my daughter is 15, so I have access, and everyone knows that she's very knowledgeable and she does like research. But even she's used to TikTok's quick scrolling of those videos. She's used to now generative AI platforms that are popular among new generation. So they're getting trained to get everything quickly, everything within one, even talking, not even typing those queries. So it's not them to blame for those changes, but I do think that the new generation that is growing up right now is getting trained for all the quick information and almost like not encouraged enough to better search and research whatever they want to know about anything. So I do want to hope that people will keep using Google, but it is slowly changing. There will be still needs for a regular search. There will be still demand to better understand, to research products, to research reviews, to research anything for like to write a paper, even for college or school. So there will be needs for Google, of course, but generative AI is also going to change. Soon they will be able to like compare all the reviews and give you a quick summary. The only limitation for that now is that they're using very old databases still of those reviews, so it's not up to date. So when you're searching Google, you would likely to find much more up-to-date information about any product or brand. For example, anytime I see a healthcare product ad on Instagram, I always search for reviews to understand if there's a scam, if there's even effective. I would not be able to do that in ChatGPT or in Gemini because their databases are very old. They would not even know about that product. So there is still a huge demand for search, but generative AI is going to be developing fast as well. So wherever they become as useful as Google search, it's still possible. They may still be as useful as regular search in terms of digging deeper, providing citations, providing sources, providing sentiment for any search. So we will see. We will see. I cannot predict that. This year, it's not going to change. Maybe next year, it's not going to change. But what happens in 5 years, no one can really predict at this point because it is changing fast and it is being adopted by younger generations as well.
Speaking of, there's a question here, but just on the note of reviews, like now Amazon has like an AI overviews of reviews, and I still read them, and they're actually really helpful. But I'll still just look through the reviews myself because I feel like AI doesn't always recognize like context or tone.
I agree, and they're getting repetitive. If you search for like similar products, the AI summary of those reviews will be the same. Some customers are happy with that. Some customers are happy with this, but some of them are also unhappy with this. And although it's a little bit too high level for me when researching reviews. So yeah, favorite FAQ plugin. I'm not using plugins. I mean, that's WordPress, right? I guess. There is Yoast. There is FAQ plugin by IMN as well. I just find it's much easier to use FAQ generator and just put my Q&A there for schema. Other than that, I just type H2 heading and then the quick answer, H3 heading and then a quick answer. So I manually format those because I don't like too many plugins in my WordPress. They are already getting pretty out of control anytime you try to add anything new. So whatever I can do manually, I do manually.
Like let's say you have the question, and then should you answer the question right away, even if it doesn't sound like natural, or is it answering them quickly should be prioritized over sounding natural, with just the way the AI search is going?
That's a good question, and it has been around ever since featured snippet became a thing. I do recommend answering quickly right below the headline, the subheading. Within one sentence, maybe two short sentences, be as factual as you can, depending on the question. If there is a question, what are the best tools to do something, actually list some of those tools in the quick answer. Then after that first paragraph of giving a quick answer, you can elaborate more, you can have more subheadings depending on how much you want to say or need to say to answer that question in a useful and helpful way. But quick answers are very helpful both for getting featured, both for appearing in People Also Ask, and now for AI overviews, because Google is still using that paragraph-based indexing. It's not page-based, it's paragraph-based, and it's been like that for a few years now, ever since their feature snippets became popular. So if you can make it easier for Google to find that paragraph answering the actual question, do it as much as you can, because that's how Google will likely feature you. And we know that AI overviews pick results from top 50, sometimes top 100. They do not have to be top 10 results to appear in AI overviews, unlike with featured snippets. So you can actually, by answering those questions really concisely and really factually, you can get into AI overview even if you're ranking 55 or 99. No. So you have a good chance if you do the best job. Look at the AI overview, what it's answering, how it's answering a query right now, and you can figure out what kind of a quick answer they would need to feature you as the source for that information. So yeah, quick answers are still a thing, but they have been like that for about 5, maybe more years now. So I would recommend everyone trying to answer questions as concisely as they can, and more importantly, very factually, because they cannot just generally answer some questions. If something good or bad, you give actual numbers, you give actual statistics, you cite actual entities in those answers if the question requires some names or some brands or some product names. So be as factual as you can and as concise as you can.
So usually I'll have I'll ask the question like such, why does such and such happen? And then according to source and have it linked to the source, then answer it. And it seems like it works really well because I
Yep.
mean we've gotten a lot of featured snippets, and so
Yeah,
yeah.
we've over the years, and we even had a standalone tool for optimization for feature snippet that also was tracking those feature snippets. So over the years, we've become very good at understanding what kind of answer any question requires for it to be featured or picked up by Google. But I like the best two ways is to be really factual and to be really concise, like really short, and go from there. And with some training, you could do that, or talk to us. We are good at that as well.